Hello, Deanna here, and thanks so much for being here. So today's video is going to be a book review, and the book I'm reviewing is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So I'm going to go ahead and read out my little blurb about this. So, in Greek mythology, the tales of heroes, victors, and men have been shared for centuries. The tale of Theseus and his triumph over the Minotaur in the labyrinth is no exception. Except in this story, a voice is given to a character who may have been seen as just a footnote, but really, she was the one that pulled the thread to have it all fall apart. So, this was definitely on my TBR for this month, and this one in particular I read as right after I read Circe, and then I read this one as well. And August has been a heavy Greek month, and this is just one of the tales that I read. I thought that the cover of this was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely love the gold foil type that we got going on. It kind of shines a bit in the light. I love the blue. I love the little pictures we have here, like the boat and what could only be potentially Ariadne there. I loved the look of this book. I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. And this was one that I did annotate a bit. I didn't heavily annotate it, but I annotated a few of the different sections, especially right about in part 2. I was very heavily annotating it because this book is broken up in different parts. We got the different parts here with the pictures, which I absolutely love. And I ended up creating a spread for this one as well. I did a journal spread for this one. This is a remnant of the other title page that I've seen, the other cover that I've seen, where it is a picture of what looks like Ariadne with the sun behind her. So I thought that that was a really interesting looking picture to create and recreate for my journal. And if I have the video, I will have either already posted, which you've already seen it, or I'll post it now, which is where I essentially created this. I might not have it though, because I know my camera died halfway through creating this, so it might not be all there, but I know that I did try to video record myself creating the copy of the cover with some craft paper that I had, and then just drawing it out with a good old pen. I cannot remember, to be honest, if I used this one, which is my Tombow brush pen, or if I used this Tombow brush pen. I honestly am not sure, because I do love both of these brush pens. I believe it was the Tombow Food Enos Silky. I apologize if I butchered the heck out of that. Soft tip. I do love drawing with this one, and it just makes it really fun to do. Or I might have used this one, but this video is not about that. I just wanted to point that out. I also created these here. I did this myself by hand by kind of copying either the grapes on the front cover here, or even like this obviously looks much better than mine, but I thought mine looked pretty good for my first attempt at trying to draw a ball of yarn there, much like what Ariadne provides to Theseus. So this book is very much a retelling from Ariadne's point of view, and also her sister Pedra. And this is kind of the female take on what happened with the legend of Theseus against the Minotaur and the city of Crete and her father King Minos and all of that. So her mother gives birth to a Minotaur, and there's a whole legend that surrounds that and everything, and Theseus is the prince of Athens that comes, and he ends up fighting the Minotaur and defeating the Minotaur, therefore freeing the city of Athens from any obligation of having to essentially send their children as sacrifices to the Minotaur to appease the King Minos because of some wars that were going on and things. So Prince Theseus comes with all these wonderful tales about all of his wonderful adventures and how heroic he is and how incredible he is. And then Ariadne is young and it does not like that children of Athens are sacrificed to her brother to appease her very horrible father, who's very abusive and just a nasty individual, and she really feels for all of those individuals that are going through that. So she ends up showing some resistance to that, and that is where this book came into play. So we really see that it's a dual point of view where we're going mainly from Ariadne is our main point of view, especially at the beginning of the book, but then it begins to switch back and forth between her and her younger sister Pedra, and Ariadne is left on an island by her own. I mean, I hope I'm not spoiling any of that. I mean, this is a centuries old myth, and it's really Jennifer Saint's kind of take on the myth and twisting it a little bit, or kind of taking some elements of it and making it this tale from Ariadne's point of view. Now, in some ways, I absolutely love this take, and I love that we get to see that side, because I am always very, very, very drawn to the tales of the women, because so many times are we seeing the sides of the men and the victors and the ones who are triumphant, but we're not really seeing the people who maybe were helping those individuals win those wars, or, you know, in ways sometimes we're seeing that the women are awful or they're punished because of some of the men's deeds. And that's explored in this book too, because Ariadne kind of reflects on why are the women the ones that are punished when it's the men that do the awful things, or it's the people. So in some ways you gotta be mindful of that when you're reading from this point of view. It does get a bit like all the gods are horrible and all men are horrible, so just kind of take that into consideration. And I didn't feed myself into that too much, but I did definitely kind of get that vibe that, you know, but it's also, that's partly why I'm drawn to the stories of the women, because it is like, well, what was their take on it, and what's the take on the people that maybe were stepped on, or the lesser gods and things. So that's very much kind of where Ariadne plays in. And then Ariadne, reminiscent of the wine and the grapes that we see, she does have an encounter with the god, I want to say his name right, I don't want to say his name wrong, because I don't want the wrath of the god coming down on me.
Dionysus.
So we very much see the god Dionysus, and that he becomes involved in this story, and he finds Ariadne and they develop a relationship between them. And honestly, that's, I think, some of where I annotated this the most, because I absolutely loved the character of Dionysus. I found him very interesting. I loved some of the background that he shared, and just his take on how he was a bit different than your regular god. I found, like, I was reading this and I was loving it while I was reading it. I was thinking it was going on the way of a 5-star read. I was just absolutely enraptured by it. I was excited to read it. I was interested. I was invested. I was engaged. And then we hit part 4 of the book. Even a little bit in part 3, but definitely in part 4, and it kind of fell apart for me. I felt that the ending was very rushed. I felt that when it fell apart there, it was like the ending was rushed, and there was a bit of what I took as a bit of a character assassination of Dionysus. There was a bit of a character assassination, at least what I felt for the character Dionysus. I felt that we had one way that he was seen and how Ariadne saw him, and then it quickly changed, and we weren't really given that great of an explanation, I don't think, in my mind, for why he kind of changed. And I also didn't really like kind of what happened with Ariadne and things, and I know some of it Jennifer was sticking true to some of the myth, but there's different interpretations of this myth. This myth is not cut in stone. I mean, it is a myth, and sometimes myths are up for interpretation and they change based on maybe who's telling the myths and things like that. And the fact that Jennifer was the author of this, she could have really had it go a different way. So I was kind of a little disappointed in the way that it went. I thought it was gonna go one way and it totally went another. And I think some of that's on me, that I was just hoping for a little more of an ending. Again, I felt that the ending was a little rushed. I felt that something happened and then we just had like 2 pages of an epilogue to kind of try to give us a satisfactory wrap up. And to me, I didn't like that. And I did see on other reviews that was some people's complaints, so I'm not alone in that thinking, but I could also be a bit biased in that I kind of wanted a little bit of a different ending. So take that what you will. I still think that the writing itself was really interesting. I found getting Pedra's point of view was really interesting too. Again, some of that was a little rushed on kind of how some things kind of ended and things like that, but I did overall enjoy the book and the story. So I'm giving it a 4 stars, because I think that while it could have been 5 stars with a bit of a different ending, or if the ending wasn't so rushed, I do still think that I really enjoyed the read for the most part. I enjoyed the writing and just how Jennifer took that for the beginning half, at least, you know, this big part. And there was some good quotes and things. There was some good lines in here, like this one I love, which is, "I know that human life shines more brightly because it is but a shimmering candle against an eternity of darkness, and it can be extinguished with the faintest breeze." Like, I thought that was just, wow, that that made me highlight it and stick a tab. Like, I was just like, wow, that's, and especially compared with like the eternity that gods have, and just the little bright light that they get from humans, and again, that was Dionysus and kind of some of his scenes. It's where I really did like fall in love with Dionysus, and I think that's partly why I was so mad at this book, is because of kind of where his character goes and how things kind of play out. So I was kind of annoyed with kind of making me fall in love with Dionysus and then making me almost hate him by the end of the book. So that is something I apologize if that's kind of like a spoiler, but again, this is like an old myth and there's some things that, you know, even the gods can't stop. So overall, I do give it a 4 stars, and I thought it was a very interesting read, and it was enough of an enjoyable read that I made like its whole spread. And I did love parts of Ariadne. I loved, like, I don't want to spoil too much, but I did love some of like what happened with her. Some of it was frustrating with some of the, like I said, dual point of view with Pedra, and then Theseus. Oh God, Theseus was just like, ugh, get out of here, Theseus. But overall, that was my take on Ariadne, and I'm very interested to know if you have read the story of Ariadne. Have you read Jennifer Saint's version? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you know much of the myth of Ariadne and how she helped Theseus with her thread and all of that? I was very much introduced a lot to her from first Percy Jackson really spoke a bit about her, and then we also had her mention in Circe. So that's again kind of why like I went on the path to even read the Ariadne book, because I like had heard so much of that, and then I was like, well, I really need to get into actually reading Ariadne. So I did enjoy it. I did. I wish the ending was a little better. That's just my only take, is I really wish I had had a more satisfying ending. But that's it. That's it for me today. I do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed my journal spread here. And I also hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves, and you will see me and maybe my hands, my journal, who knows, next time. Bye!